John had always been a man of routine. Every day he woke up at dawn, brewed a pot of coffee, and sat on his porch, watching the sun rise over the small town of Maplewood. At 62, he found comfort in the familiarity of his life, the same chair, the same view, and the company of his beloved dog, Max. They enjoyed those quiet moments together, a peaceful rhythm that defined his existence. But one fateful autumn morning, everything changed. As he sipped his coffee, he noticed something strange. His wife, Linda, who had always been his partner in crime for over 30 years, had left her phone face up on the kitchen table. John had never been one to pry. He respected Linda's privacy. But the sudden urge to look at her phone washed over him like a wave, and he found himself drawn to it. It was a simple moment, a fleeting thought that spiraled into a tempest of emotions. He picked up the phone, his heart racing. There, on the screen, were messages that shattered his world. They were from a man named Eric, someone John had never heard of. The texts were laced with endearments and plans to meet, and as John read them, his heart sank. The betrayal was undeniable. Linda, the woman he had devoted his life to, was cheating on him. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. He felt as if the ground had vanished beneath his feet. In the days that followed, John's mind was a whirlwind of anguish and fury. How could she do this to him? They had built a life together, through thick and thin, through joys and sorrows. The memories flooded back. Their wedding day, the birth of their children, the countless moments of laughter and love. Yet here he was, betrayed by the person he trusted most. Instead of confronting her immediately, John decided to gather his thoughts. He needed to think clearly, to devise a plan. After a week of torment, he resolved to confront Linda, but not before ensuring he had everything he needed. He began to observe her closely, noting her habits and routines. He discovered that Linda had been meeting Eric during the afternoons, while John was at work. If he was going to confront her, he wanted to catch her in the act. One brisk afternoon, with his heart pounding in his chest, John followed Linda to a local cafe where she was supposed to meet Eric. He parked his car a short distance away and watched, a mix of anxiety and anger swirling inside him. The cafe was bustling with patrons, and John could see the glow of the afternoon sun streaming through the windows. It felt surreal, like a scene from a movie where the protagonist is grappling with the weight of betrayal. And then he saw them, Linda and Eric, sitting at a small table, their laughter ringing out like a mocking chorus. John's blood boiled as he watched them lean into each other, their intimacy palpable. It felt as though the world around him had faded, leaving only the vision of his wife entwined with another man. It was an image that would forever be etched in his memory. Fueled by a mixture of heartbreak and rage, John made his way back home, his mind racing with thoughts of revenge. He knew he had to take action, but he wanted to make sure it was calculated. He didn't want to act out of sheer anger. He wanted to show Linda the consequences of her betrayal in a way that would leave a lasting impression. That night, as Linda came home with a smile on her face, John feigned normalcy. He greeted her at the door, shared a casual dinner, and even made small talk about their day. But inside, he was a storm, brewing with unquenchable fury. Every smile she flashed felt like a dagger to his heart, every laugh a reminder of her infidelity. As the days turned into weeks, John meticulously planned his revenge. He sought advice from friends and family, trying to gauge the best way to confront Linda while also ensuring he maintained his dignity. He knew he needed to make her aware of the pain she had caused, to show her the emotional turmoil he had endured. Then came the day of reckoning. John had arranged a meeting at their favorite park, a place that held special memories for them. He told Linda that he wanted to talk about their marriage, about their future. He could see curiosity in her eyes, mixed with a hint of apprehension. They walked to a secluded bench, the leaves crunching beneath their feet, the autumn air filled with the scent of change. "Linda," he began, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "We need to talk about trust and honesty in our relationship." His heart raced, but he pressed on, determined to unveil the truth. "What do you mean?" she asked, her brow furrowing. The innocence in her voice only fueled his resolve. "I mean, I've seen the messages, Linda. I know about Eric. I watched you with him." The admission hung in the air, heavy and palpable. For a brief moment, silence engulfed them. John could see the color drain from her face as realization washed over her. She stammered, searching for words, but John held up a hand, signaling for her to stop. "I don't need your excuses," he said, a calmness enveloping him. "What I need is for you to understand the depth of your betrayal. You've shattered everything we built together." Linda's eyes widened, tears streaming down her cheeks as she processed his words. The emotional weight of the moment was almost unbearable. John had a plan, and he was ready to execute it. He had spoken to a lawyer and had begun gathering necessary documentation to protect his assets. But more than that, he wanted Linda to feel the impact of her choices. He intended to make her understand the gravity of her actions. "Linda," he continued, "I'm not going to drag this out. I'm filing for divorce. I cannot live in a house filled with lies." As the finality of his words settled in, John felt a sense of relief mixed with sadness. He had fought hard for their marriage, but now it was time to reclaim his life. In the following weeks, John focused on rebuilding himself. He immersed himself in hobbies he had long neglected, fishing trips with old friends, exploring new interests, and even taking up painting. He found solace in the beauty of nature, the thrill of casting a line into the river, and the vibrant colors on a canvas. Each day was a step toward healing and rediscovery. But Linda wasn't done yet. She began to show signs of desperation, reaching out to John, pleading for another chance. She sent messages filled with regret and promises of change, but John remained steadfast in his decision. It was a hard lesson for her, one that he believed was necessary for her to truly understand the weight of her actions. And then came a surprising twist. One day, while John was at the local diner enjoying breakfast, he ran into Eric, the man who had brought chaos into his life. It was an uncomfortable encounter, but John felt a strange sense of empowerment. He confronted Eric, expressing how he felt about the pain. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the diner, John's heart raced. The confrontation with Eric had been unexpected. As he faced the man who had woven himself into the fabric of his marriage, John felt a mix of anger and something else, an odd sense of closure. Eric, a wiry fellow in his 40s, looked taken aback by John's presence, his mouth opening and closing as if searching for words. "Who do you think you are?" John's voice was steady, but the intensity behind it was unmistakable. "You've taken something sacred from me. You've played a part in wrecking my life." Eric's face flushed, and for a moment, he looked like a deer caught in headlights. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," he stammered. "Linda and you what?" John interrupted, disdain dripping from his words. "You think this is some sort of romance novel? You don't get to play the victim here. You knew she was married. You knew the risk." John felt empowered as he spoke, the weight of betrayal shifting from his shoulders to Eric's. He had been the silent sufferer, but now he was taking a stand. "You think you can just swoop in and take what's mine? What you did is unforgivable." Eric shifted uncomfortably in his seat, glancing around the diner, perhaps sensing the attention of the other patrons. "I never meant for it to go this far," he finally mumbled, looking genuinely remorseful. "Too late for that," John replied, the fire in his belly igniting further. "You destroyed my trust, my marriage. And for what? A few fleeting moments of passion? That's all you'll ever be to her. A moment. I was her husband for decades." The confrontation ended with John leaving Eric behind, a shadow of a man who had taken too much. As he walked away, he felt a sense of liberation wash over him. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. In the days that followed, John found himself reflecting on the life he and Linda had built together. Their wedding, the laughter, the shared dreams, and the slow unraveling of those dreams haunted him. He had spent years making sacrifices for the sake of their family, but now he felt free in his decision to move on. He began to fill his time with activities he had long neglected. He joined a local fishing club, rekindled his passion for woodworking, and even took a pottery class, something Linda had always wanted to do but had never gotten around to. Each new experience added layers to his healing process. Yet, Linda continued to reach out. She sent him messages, sometimes tearful, sometimes pleading, always filled with regret. "I can't believe I hurt you like this," she wrote one night. "I made a terrible mistake. Can we talk?" John read her messages, but chose not to respond. He felt no obligation to engage with the woman who had shattered his trust. Instead, he focused on the friendships he was building, the laughter he was regaining, and the man he was becoming without her. One cool afternoon, as the leaves began to turn, he received a call from an old friend, Tom, who suggested they take a road trip to visit some local breweries. It was the perfect excuse to escape the memories of the past few months. John felt a surge of excitement at the thought of new adventures. As they drove through the scenic countryside, John found himself laughing again. Tom regaled him with stories from their youth, and John shared his own journey, the betrayal, the heartache, and the newfound freedom. "You're better off without her, John," Tom said, clapping him on the shoulder. "You deserve someone who respects you, someone who won't take your love for granted." Those words resonated deeply with John. He knew he had to move forward, not just for himself, but to reclaim his dignity. Yet, even as he embraced his newfound freedom, the shadow of Linda and Eric loomed in his mind. One evening, while working on a wooden birdhouse in his garage, John found himself lost in thought. He had heard from mutual friends that Linda was still seeing Eric, and the realization stung. Part of him wanted to reach out, to confront her again, but he knew that wouldn't change anything. Instead, he decided to channel his feelings into something constructive. He began crafting custom woodwork pieces, pouring his heart and soul into each creation. This new passion ignited a spark within him, allowing him to express his emotions and find solace in the process. As the holiday season approached, John found himself at a crossroads. He could either wallow in the pain of his lost marriage or embrace the opportunity to create a new life. He chose the latter, deciding to host a small gathering at his home for the holidays. He invited friends from the fishing club, his pottery class, and a few old acquaintances. As the night of the gathering arrived, John felt a sense of anticipation. This was a new beginning, a chance to forge connections and celebrate camaraderie. The laughter and warmth in his home that evening were palpable. Friends shared stories, enjoyed good food, and celebrated the joy of togetherness. John felt a sense of belonging he hadn't experienced in years. But just as he was beginning to fully embrace this new chapter, a familiar knock echoed through his home. It was Linda. She stood at the door, looking vulnerable and uncertain. "John," she said softly, her eyes glistening. "Can we talk? I need to explain." John's heart raced as memories flooded back, and he stood at the threshold of his past. Here was the woman who had hurt him. He took a deep breath, inviting her in, but prepared for the storm of emotions that lay ahead. "Let's talk," he said, his voice steady, but deep inside, he was wrestling with the ghosts of their shared history, wondering if this conversation would lead to healing or further heartache. As John opened the door, he was taken aback by the sight of Linda. She stood there, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, her cheeks flushed with a mix of embarrassment and desperation. The autumn chill wrapped around them, contrasting sharply with the warmth of the memories they once shared. Here she was, the woman he had loved fiercely, reduced to a shadow of her former self, pleading for a chance to explain. "Can we talk inside?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He hesitated, the door still partially ajar. The air was thick with unspoken words, each one a reminder of the betrayal that had shattered their lives. But he nodded, stepping aside to let her in, his heart pounding like a drum echoing through his chest. The familiar scent of cinnamon and pine from the holiday decorations he had put up filled the room, a stark reminder of the life they had once envisioned together. He gestured towards the living room, and they sat opposite each other, a chasm of silence stretching between them. "John, I know I hurt you. I messed up in the worst way possible," Linda began, her voice trembling as she fidgeted with the hem of her sweater. "I didn't realize how much I would lose until it was too late." John leaned back, crossing his arms, unwilling to let her vulnerability sway him. "You think an apology can just erase everything? You chose to betray me, Linda. What you did was unforgivable. he replied, each word laced with the pain that still lingered in his heart. Please, just hear me out, she pleaded, her eyes searching his for any sign of understanding. I was lost and confused. I thought I wanted something different, something exciting, but I realized that what I had with you was real. It was everything I ever wanted. John's mind raced back to the moments they had shared, the laughter, the quiet evenings spent together, the dreams they had built. But those memories felt tainted now, overshadowed by her betrayal. And you thought that chasing excitement meant tearing apart what we built? You didn't even think of the consequences, he retorted, his voice firm. Tears streamed down Linda's cheeks as she continued. I've been in therapy. I'm trying to understand why I did what I did. I'm so ashamed of myself. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I want to earn back your trust, even if it takes a lifetime. For a moment, John felt a flicker of empathy. He remembered the love they had shared, the dreams they had painted together. But just as quickly, that flicker was extinguished by the memory of her betrayal. You say you want to earn back my trust, but trust is built over time, and you shattered it in an instant, he replied, his voice steady but distant. Linda looked down, her fingers now twisting a loose thread on the couch. I know it's going to take time, but I'm willing to fight for us, John. I've realized how much I need you in my life. His heart wavered as he considered her words. He had spent months reclaiming his life, building a new identity without her. The thought of allowing her back in felt like opening a wound that hadn't fully healed. You say you're willing to fight, but can you fight against your own impulses? Can you promise me that you won't hurt me again? He asked, his voice softer now, revealing a crack in his facade. I promise, she replied, her sincerity washing over him like a gentle wave. I know I've broken your trust, and I can't expect you to believe me right away, but I want to show you that I can change. John looked into her eyes, searching for a glimmer of the woman he had fallen in love with. He recalled the laughter they had shared, the adventures undertaken, and the dreams woven together. Yet the betrayal loomed large, a shadow that refused to fade. I need time, Linda, he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. I need to think. As she nodded, understanding etched on her face, John felt a wave of emotions crash over him. The desire for reconciliation battled with the need to protect his heart. He led her to the door, pausing before opening it. I can't promise anything right now, but I'll consider what you've said, he stated, trying to keep his emotions in check. Thank you, she whispered, stepping out into the chilly air. I'll give you space. Just know that I'll be here, waiting. As the door closed, John leaned against it, the weight of the world pressing down on his shoulders. He felt as if he were standing at a crossroads with two paths diverging before him. One led back to a familiar but painful past, the other into an uncertain future filled with the potential for healing or further heartbreak. Days turned into weeks, and despite his best efforts to move on, Linda's presence lingered in his mind. He found solace in his woodworking, pouring his emotions into each piece he crafted. The wood transformed under his hands, becoming something beautiful, a reflection of his own journey towards healing. But even as he immersed himself in his craft, Linda's voice echoed in his thoughts. She reached out occasionally, sending him messages filled with hope and reminders of the love they once shared. Each time he read her words, a part of him softened, yet another part remained vigilant, guarding against the pain of betrayal. One evening, as he sanded down a particularly intricate design, his phone buzzed with another message from Linda. He considered ignoring it, but curiosity got the better of him. He opened the text, and his heart sank at her words. "John, I know I've been a fool, but I want to show you that I can be better. I've started volunteering at the community center. It's changing me, and I want you to see it for yourself." Intrigued yet cautious, John found himself wrestling with a mixture of emotions. Perhaps he could give her another chance, an opportunity to show her true self. The thought of seeing her again, even in a different context, ignited a flicker of hope within him. After much deliberation, he decided to visit the community center, curious to see the woman Linda claimed to be becoming. As he walked through the doors, he was greeted by the cheerful chatter of children and the vibrant energy of volunteers working together. And there she was, laughing with a group of kids, her eyes shining with a warmth he hadn't seen in a long time. For a brief moment, the old feeling surged within him, battling against the memories of betrayal. Could this be the beginning of something new? Or was it simply a fleeting glimpse of the past? As he approached her, he felt the weight of his decisions swell within him. The future was uncertain, but with every step he took, he knew he was ready to confront whatever came next. John stood at the entrance of the community center. The familiar scent of fresh paint, mingling with the sweet aroma of baked goods wafting from the kitchen. The soft chatter of volunteers and the laughter of children filled the air, creating an atmosphere that felt both comforting and foreign to him. It was a stark contrast to the turmoil that had engulfed his life just months earlier. As he stepped inside, memories of Linda flooded his mind. The shared laughter, the late-night talks, the dreams they once built together. Yet those memories were now tainted by betrayal. He pushed the thoughts aside, reminding himself of the strength he'd found in the wake of her actions. This visit was not about rekindling their relationship. It was about understanding who Linda had become since their split. He spotted her across the room, her back turned as she assisted a young girl with arts and crafts. Linda looked different, a subtle change in her demeanor that piqued his curiosity. She was focused, dedicated, and there was a genuine warmth in her interactions. John felt a pang of nostalgia, but quickly steeled himself against it. He had come here to observe, not to reopen old wounds. As he approached, Linda turned and her eyes widened in surprise. "John," she breathed, her voice betraying a mix of emotions, relief, apprehension, hope. "I didn't expect to see you here. Just wanted to see what you've been up to," he replied, keeping his tone neutral. He took a moment to take in her appearance. She seemed healthier, more vibrant. "I've heard you're volunteering a lot lately." "Yes, I am. It's been good for me," she admitted, her gaze dropping momentarily. "I've been working on myself since, well, you know." "I do know," John replied, the gravity of their past hanging between them like a thick fog. "But I'm not here to rehash everything. I just wanted to see who you've become." Linda nodded, understanding the unspoken boundaries he was setting. I appreciate that. I really do. I know I hurt you, and I'm truly sorry for that. I've been trying to make amends in my own way. John watched her closely. There was sincerity in her eyes, but he had learned the hard way that trust couldn't be rebuilt overnight. What does that mean for you, making amends? It means volunteering, helping others, she said, her voice gaining strength. I've been reflecting on my life, my choices, and I want to contribute positively to the community. I want to be a better person. John took a deep breath, contemplating her words. He could see she was trying, but could he allow himself to believe in her transformation? And what about your relationship with Eric? He pressed gently, curious about how she would handle his inquiry. That was a mistake, a terrible mistake, she replied, her voice trembling slightly. I was lost, John. I didn't value what we had until it was almost too late. I wish I could take it back. I appreciate your honesty, Linda, John said, feeling a flicker of something within him, an ember of empathy, perhaps. But I can't pretend that everything is okay. I don't know if I can trust you again. I understand, she murmured, her expression softening. Trust takes time. I'm not asking you to forgive me right away. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to be better, for myself and for those around me. As they sat down at a nearby table, John felt the weight of the past lift slightly. They talked for a long while, sharing stories about their lives since the separation. Linda spoke about her work with children and how fulfilling it was to see their smiles. She mentioned her struggles, but also her small victories. In turn, John shared his newfound passion for woodworking, describing how creating something tangible helped him channel his emotions. Hours passed as they reminisced about their shared joys and the good times they had experienced. It was a bittersweet exchange, filled with laughter tinged with sorrow. John realized he missed the connection they once had, the ease of conversation, the laughter echoing in their home. But as the sun began to set, casting a warm glow through the windows, the reality of their situation settled back in. Linda, I appreciate everything you shared, he said carefully, but I still need time. I'm not ready to dive back into anything. Of course, she replied, her eyes filled with understanding. I don't want to rush you. Just know that I'm here, and I'll always be willing to talk. As John walked away from the community center, he felt a mix of emotions swirling within him. Hope, fear, regret, and a flicker of something resembling reconciliation danced in his heart. He knew he had a long way to go, and while he wasn't ready to forgive, the conversation had opened a small door. In the weeks that followed, John continued to immerse himself in woodworking, crafting beautiful pieces that brought him peace. He found a rhythm in his life, balancing his time between his hobbies and the friendships he had cultivated. Yet, Linda's presence lingered in his thoughts. Her determination to change had sparked a new feeling within him, a curiosity about what their future could hold, even if it was uncertain. One chilly evening, as he worked on a particularly intricate piece, he received a text from Linda. It was a simple message, just a photo of a bird feeder she had built for the community garden, with a caption that read, "Trying to spread joy, one bird at a time." John smiled at the sight, but as he stared at the screen, he felt a stir of something deeper. Perhaps it was time to meet again. to see if Linda's transformation was genuine. He pondered the idea for a while, weighing the potential risks against the possibility of rekindling their connection. Finally, after much deliberation, he decided to take a step forward. The following weekend, he arranged to meet Linda at the garden where she had placed the bird feeder. As he walked toward the familiar spot, he felt a blend of anticipation and anxiety. Would this be a moment of healing or further heartache? Only time would tell, but he was ready to face whatever lay ahead. Evening, while sanding a piece of oak for a new birdhouse, John received a text from Linda that made his heart race. "I'm hosting a small gathering at the community center this weekend. I would love for you to come, even if just for a little while." He stared at the message, torn between the familiar warmth of her invitation and the cold reality of their broken trust. After a long deliberation, curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to attend. Maybe this was a step forward, a chance to see if there was still something worth salvaging. The day of the gathering arrived, and John felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety as he approached the community center. The air was crisp, and the colorful leaves crunched beneath his feet, a reminder of the beauty that could still exist despite heartache. As he entered, the smell of pumpkin spice and fresh apple cider welcomed him, wrapping him in a warm embrace. He spotted Linda across the room, her laughter ringing out like music, surrounded by friends who were engaged in light-hearted conversation. She looked radiant, her smile genuine, and for a moment, a flicker of the old feeling surged within him. But he quickly suppressed it, reminding himself of the pain that had come from her actions. As the evening progressed, John found himself drawn into conversations, laughter bubbling up as he reconnected with familiar faces. Yet, he kept a cautious distance from Linda, participating in group activities, but avoiding any one-on-one moments that could lead to vulnerability. Finally, after the festivities began to wind down, Linda approached him. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice steady but soft. He nodded, and they stepped outside into the cool night air, the stars twinkling like distant memories. "Thank you for coming tonight," she began, her breath visible in the chilly air. "It means so much to me." John shrugged, not wanting to divulge too much of his internal struggle. "It was nice to see everyone again," he replied, keeping his tone neutral. "I've been thinking about what you said last time we talked," Linda continued, her eyes searching his for understanding. "I know trust needs to be rebuilt, and I want to show you that I'm serious about changing. I've started volunteering more, focusing on myself, and even taking classes on relationships." Her sincerity struck a chord within him. "I see that you're trying, Linda, but it's not just about what you're doing. It's about how you're going to prove that you won't hurt me again," John said, his voice steady but cautious. "I understand that. I want to earn your trust back, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes," she replied, her determination palpable. "I miss you, John. I miss us." The vulnerability in her eyes made him want to reach out, to comfort her like he once would have. But he remained firm, not wanting to slip back into old habits. "I need to see that change over time, not just hear about it. It's going to take more than words for me to believe that you won't betray me again. Linda nodded, her expression a mixture of hope and sadness. I'm committed to showing you I can be better. Just give me a chance. As they stood there in the glow of the porch light, John felt a warmth spreading through him, a flicker of hope intertwined with caution. All right, he finally said, but let's take it slow. I can't rush back into something that broke me. Thank you, she said, relief washing over her. I promise to do my part. Let's take it one day at a time. With that, John stepped back, feeling the weight of the moment settle around them. It wouldn't be easy, and he knew there would be days of doubt and uncertainty. But he also realized that healing didn't mean forgetting. It meant learning and growing, together or apart. As he walked away from the community center that night, John felt lighter, a sense of control returning to his life. The path ahead remained uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, he felt ready to embrace whatever came next, be it a renewed relationship or the strength to move forward alone. The choice was his, and it felt empowering.